There's no touching the machine at any point. It is a zero-touch, 100% hardware-independent installation, and it can go to any machine. Notice here, I don't know what type of machine this is, and I don't know what type of machine this is outside of the VM piece, but it really doesn't matter because Windows XP can be installed very easily on both of those. So in a typical image, when you're building an image, you have to get a machine that is a blank machine, and you have to have somebody sit down and manually load everything in and get the image the way that they like it. And usually that could take anywhere from 4 hours to a number of days to weeks to create what I always call a golden image. For us, it is very simple. We can very easily come in here, create a new group, just call it new group. I can come over here, grab my Windows XP template. I can come over here and I can grab some software to put into this particular group. Again, it's all drag and drop. Get in there and grab my template, put that in here, my boot template and my agent template. Come over here, put some software into that group, and I'm just building it out right now. And then just throw some machines in here. So if I go in here and grab this guy here into the new group, this guy here, put him in the new group, put this VM in there. So now I have those machines. I can right-click, activate, check the 2 boxes here. Next, yes, I want to activate all 3 machines. Next, and finish. And these machines, next time they're rebooted, or if I had chosen to do wake on LAN or reboot right now, they'll get this operating system put on there with all this software. Again, I'm not worried about, hey, which image do I put on there, because it doesn't matter. This template right here can go down on any of them. So that's the way that we typically build an operating system. We're looking at build times here for Windows XP anywhere from 15 minutes to about 25 minutes with a typical software set on there to put like Office 2010 and those type of programs on there. For Windows 7, it's about 4 or 5 minutes faster, depending on the machine that we're deploying it onto. So you're looking at a total build time on the fast end around 20 minutes, on the slow side probably around 35 to 40 minutes. But it's zero touch. I don't have to worry about reloading or sending somebody out to that desktop to do anything. It can be added automatically to the domain. You can put all the user's information back on there and whatnot. So a few other things to talk about here are the actual templates, right? So we're going to jump over here to my operating system, my OS installer, and just show you how we get the information into the database. So first thing we do is we go to import. We can point directly to the particular language we want, go into our Windows 7, choose here, and then import the operating system directly into the database. Once we have that information, we can come in and work on the template itself. So if I go in here to Windows 7, choose this, and then double-click, you can see here that right now I want to have this installed to a work group. I can have the names, the company name, just typical information that you see in here, the local administrative password, the domain account if we want to add it into the domain. All this information is captured in here. We can run in here and change the partitioning information. We can hide partitions if necessary. So if you're looking at how we do our installations for an operating system template as opposed to an image, we can typically build out from scratch an operating system and put it into a machine in less than 10 minutes, start to finish, and it is current. You can see some of the other things that we have up here for SUSE, for Linux. We can also install the VM ESX servers, Citrix Vim servers, and then we also have the ability to take physical machines and convert them into virtual machines, and I'll show you that here in a minute too. So I typically get questions around how does the driver cloud work? How are you hardware independent? How do you take one template and push it out to a number of different makes and model machines? Well, the way that we do it is through our inventory. We can actually gather the information on specific cards on those machines. I just want to show you this real quick. And what we do here is we gather the information on the vendor, sub-vendor IDs on each particular card. And once we know these numbers here, we know exactly which drivers to associate to any card, any piece of hardware that's on that machine. So that's what makes us hardware independent. And remember, it's only what is injected into that particular template that makes it even more streamlined for the installations. So the next thing I'd like to talk about is the personal backup piece. Now this is our migration tool, right? Not only is it a migration tool, but it is a way that users can back up their own data on their machines and allow them to restore their own data if you choose for them to do that. So what we're looking at here is, again, it's another GUI interface. There's no scripting. You can come in here and you can push out the backups. If you choose to do a backup on your network for your users, we can back it up wherever you want it to go. We can back it up a number of different generations. So we back up one full backup of their user data only. We're not backing up programs or things that don't need to be backed up on their machine. We're only backing up what is important to that user. So we make one full backup and then incremental backups after that. So it's a very, very efficient way of backing up users' data, and it makes it where you don't have to worry about, did we capture this user's data? You know, if the policy at your company is, well, we don't care what's on our users' desktops, or we don't care what's on there before, if a machine dies, they're supposed to put their information up on their network share. That's great until you talk to your manager who lost his machine, or you talk to the CIO, or you talk to somebody who just happened to have something important on their laptop or desktop, and you missed it during an installation. So this right here will actually capture that information for you. And it does it all automatically. The user doesn't know it's running in the background, and we're only capturing the files that have changed after the main backup. So it's a very efficient way, very fast way of backing up users' data, and it's all done in the background for you. And this is completely necessary for migration. So not only is it something that you can use to back up the user's data for, you know, just day-to-day purposes, when the time comes for the 82% of you that are doing a Windows 7 migration, you're going to need a tool like this. And the nice thing about it is that it's not scripted. It's all GUI-based. And of course, you can go in here and you can include specific files. We can say if you have a particular user or a particular machine that has certain files, custom files that need to be backed up, you can just add them in here. Same thing if you want to exclude certain files. You know, we don't want to back up movies and AVIs off of users' machines. We just want to back up the critical data. We can separate that out. And then we have our easy recovery, which is a feature that will actually take the entire machine in the state that it's in and back it up. So if you have any fears or anything of migrating a particular user, then you can use this feature here to back up the entire data set, the entire computer, and store it. So if anything needs to be restored back to that machine, you can dump it all back down in one fell swoop. Next thing we're going to talk about will be software. So over in the management console, you saw how I was able to move files back and forth from our software group over here. Well, the next thing is to kind of figure out what all functionality do we have around pushing out software, right? So what I can do is double-click on my Adobe Acrobat and just show you a few of the things that are listed here. So in here, we have the ability to do sequencing, right? So I can jump in here and I can install software in a certain order. So anytime that Adobe gets pushed down, I want to make sure that .NET is sent down with it, right? Or if I want to make sure that a machine has a certain type of software on there or a specific setting, that can also be added in here. So it's kind of like an airbag feature along with our computer environment piece. So we can say, don't push Adobe Acrobat on a machine that's less than, 1 gigahertz, whatever the case might be. We can add that in here, another airbag feature. Same thing goes for our operating systems. What operating systems is it compatible with, right? So we can check that off here. So, before a piece of software is pushed out, you have something in the background working with you to make sure that you don't push something out that's not valid, right, or something that a machine can't handle. And of course, all this can be monitored by how many license counts you have of that piece of software. So if you have 100 copies of Adobe Acrobat and you're pushing out 101, how do you get alerted of that right now? And who's watching out for that? We have reports that are built in to kind of show you exactly what's going on and who's doing what in your environment, which leads me to the next thing that I want to talk about, which is our application usage tracking feature. So if I go back to one of my machines over here, and it's my main console, and I open him up here, we have inventory data on this particular guy. I'm not going to go through inventory. It's very detailed. I'm not going to go through each piece here, but there is something that I do want to show you, and that's our software, right? So when I open up the software piece, I can see on these particular machines when the software was installed, what version was installed, all that type of information. But out of here, the biggest savings piece right here, the biggest thing that can save you money is our usage tracking. And what the usage tracking does is it actually tracks not only the runtime for a particular piece of software, but how long the user is actually in that piece of software. So every inventory program out there will track this. They'll track the runtime. But what's nice is that you can look at this and say, if this guy is using, let's say, WinWord here, right, and he has it open for 9 minutes and he's actually using it for 6 minutes, 5.8 minutes, he uses that software. But if we see that he has it open for 1,000 minutes and only uses it for 2 minutes, then there's something going on there, right? So the value in this is when I ask the question on calls and say, are you running Office Professional or are you running Office Standard throughout your entire organization? And the answer 99% of the time is we're running Office Professional. And I ask why. You know, do all of your users use Office Professional? They have to have Publisher and they have to have Microsoft Access. If they have to have it, then that's great. You're spending your money wisely. But if you only put Office Professional out on those machines because you have no way of knowing who's using what, this right here will tell you. This right here will tell you how long they're using each piece. We can create filters in here that I had shown a little bit over here earlier, and we can create filters to say if a piece of software is not being used more than 5% of its runtime, remove it, right? Free up that license. You know, instead of pushing Office Professional to 1,000 machines that you have in your environment, you might only have 20 users or 100 users who use Office Professional. So you can start to save money that way. And not just on Office, you can use it on any piece of software. It's tracking every executable that's running on those machines. So the usage tracking is very valuable. We'll talk a little bit now about the structure of how this works for remote sites. So if I have a site out in San Jose, right, and I'm located out of Atlanta, so my database is located here. Our server, the master server, is located in Atlanta. There's only one database that handles all the machines in one group. And if you're wondering how big of a database can we, you know, how many machines can this handle, can this software handle, we have one client that has right at 280,000 devices that are being managed. So we can manage from 5 or 10 machines all the way up to 280,000. And we don't have any clients with more than that, but typically I think right now that database size is right at 4 gigs. So it's a very efficient way of running a piece of software. You don't have to worry about multiple databases to manage. There's only one. All the remote site servers, or what we call our depot servers, do not have databases on them. They just report and sync directly to the master database. So I have my sub-depot servers. What I can do, if I have a machine that is out in a particular site, I'll know what machine it is because it'll show up on this side. I can take that machine, we'll just grab this one, and put it over here to the depot server. So the process that I'm going to show you now is how easy it is for us to create a depot server at a remote site. So we grab the server that's listed over here, whichever one it would be, bring it over here to the sub-depot configuration group, right-click on them and activate them. What will happen is this piece of all these software, these sync templates, will be installed on that machine. Now, remember, this machine is not local. This machine is at some remote site, wherever it is. We can, what will happen are these templates will sync down to those machines, to that particular machine, and then only those machines' values for the operating systems, the packages that are associated to that site will be synced down to it. Now, it can go over the wire. It really doesn't matter. If you have a slow connection between the sites, we can put it on an external hard drive and send it down to that site, and they can plug it in. That's all that it takes. It doesn't even have to be a server. It could be a desktop machine as long as you're not expecting it to run packages for hundreds of machines at a site. And typically, if you have hundreds of machines or more than 20 or 30 machines at a site, you already have a server there. So all we need is just space. We just need space to put the packages that are going to be installed for that particular site.